It's another Monday. It's another roll to roll. I'm Benj,
I'm Chase.
I'm Dave.
and this week we're talking about Feats, which is an optional rule in the player's handbook, an optional way to customize your character. You don't have to use it at all, but I recommend you do a little bit. Chase, tell me your superpowers.
No.
Because
uh,
that's basically what Feats are now.
kind of. But so, all right. I don't know why I'm saying but. We're talking about feats. Feats, not butts. So anyway,
Ugh.
I had to make my dad joke. Sorry, internet. All right. So, in our last episode, we talked about skills and kind of the how they made them vague and enough to where it's like a general overview, so anyone could do them. Feats are essentially the enhanced version of skills. Feats are your more accurate, more centralized on a specific task or point, and kind of have more benefits to them. And what I mean by that is if you were to have like a skill in stealth, it's something that a bonus you had that makes you hide and sneak better. But having a feat like, you know what, I'll use the very first feat of the book. Having a feat like alert gives you multiple things. One of the things it gives you is a +5 bonus to initiative, so you're automatically, essentially, faster than the party because you're alert. You're always looking for what might be going on. Another thing it gives you is you just simply can't be surprised while you're conscious because you're alert. You can't be, the little hobgoblin behind you can't sneak up on you because you know he's there. You might know he's there at the last second, but you know he's there before his dagger stabs you. It's how it works. And then one other thing it does is creatures can't have advantage on attack rolls against you because, well, you're ready for them.
Because they're hidden.
Yeah, and they're not hidden from you because you're alert. And essentially, that's how feats work. They're an enhanced mechanic that allows your player to be better at certain things. Now, one thing to take into consideration about feats that's a little bit different than previous editions is you have to, because feats in 5th edition, as I'm sure you've heard us say a few times, are kind of a big deal because some of the things they give you are really good. So whenever you get to along as you're leveling up your characters, you play the game, you eventually have to choose between adding points to your actual stats, so your strength score, your dexterity score, your constitution score, or picking a feat. And I won't lie to you, it can be pretty hard to decide between the two depending on what you're trying to do. And there's definitely better times, statistically wise, when to pick them and when to go with the numbers. But there are quite a bit of feats. They do cover a whole range of things. And without having you hearing nothing but me, I will let someone else top in their opinion. But that's essentially the general overview. So either one of you guys, take the wheel, and I'll pop in as needed.
Well, I mean, as far as builds go, I have kind of a rule of thumb when I'm making characters. Again, I am the numbers guy. So I like to do, I'm the twink or the min maxer or the munchkin of our group because my background is numbers. I am a math guy. So I typically, when I decide to build I build my characters all the way to level 20. That way I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do later. Like I plan it out. And if something changes along the way, from like a role play standpoint within the campaign or something, then maybe I'll adjust it and change it out. But for the most part, I plan my guy out for all 20 levels, even though statistically players don't play past level 12. But what I would do is say 4 of your bumps go to your stats, and any bumps you have left over go to feats. Why do you say that way, Benj? Well, I'm glad you asked, Internet. Humans, the variant human, gets a free feat at first level, so you're going to have more feats than somebody who's not a human of the same class because you get one more feat. I would still burn one of my ability score increases for a feat as I went along down my path. When we get to the actual classes, we'll talk about fighters getting more ability score bumps than any other class. And I believe that's the same reason that fighters got way more feats than other classes in previous editions of the game, because it's their moves. It's the things that they do that make them whatever kind of fighter that they are. So while most classes get 5 ability score bumps, the fighter gets 7. So I would still take 4 ability score bumps as a fighter, but then I would take 3 feats. And that's still like that's you're going to have the stats you need, but you're also going to have like a lot of really cool additional abilities because on paper the fighter doesn't look like they get a whole lot. Um, Spoiler alert: I love fighters. Fighters are awesome, but they get a little help from the feat section of the book if you decide to use the optional rule to use feats, and I don't know why you wouldn't because they're awesome. Dave, general thoughts on feats, and then we'll get specific.
All right. General thoughts are: I was initially pretty happy that feats had turned into an optional thing in 5e. What feats were the thing in third edition that took the longest for me to wrap my head around because you had to pick a feat every so many levels, and there were so many feats in third edition. Just between the base player's handbook and then you start adding in all the expanded books and like AEG feats, it was just a book full of feats. And there were so many feats and feat trees, and this feat leads to this feat leads to that feat, and you had to plan it. Like, you couldn't just wing it, because if you wanted whirlwind attack, you had to plan to get the feats leading up to it, and so on. And I don't like planning like that. I'm kind of the opposite of Benj in that way, where I don't typically do a lot of character planning. I have a general idea of where I want to go, but I kind of take it one level at a time. When I level up, I look at it and I say, okay, cool. You know what? I think I'll take this feat, or I'll go ahead and take the ability score increases. And I like that I don't have to look 10 levels ahead to where I want to get, like I said, whirlwind attack, and I've got to take, these 3 feats before it, so where am I going to fit them in? I like that I can just kind of, if I don't need an ability score increase, or because a lot of feats in 5th edition give you, like, a 1-point bump to an ability score increase, I can look and see, alright, well, I do need to bump up my dex by, 1, or my strength by 1. What feats can I get that will give me that 1 point of strength or dex, but also gives me more things? Like, you can take a bunch of feats that will give you that bump to your stat, and then let you do some other cool things. I'm not going to get any specifics right now because we're going to do that in a few minutes, but I just like that they changed the feat system to where you can do it or you can't do it, and if you do it, it's really useful because they all do some really cool things. And the other thing I like is that they're not always mechanical effects. It's not always, get a +1 to this and a +3 to that. There's a bunch of stuff in here that's like just small RP stuff that doesn't seem like it matters, but it can be really cool to be able to do some of these small things in role-playing encounters that, like, with the actor feat, you can mimic speech of somebody else. That's not a mechanical thing. You don't need to make a roll for it. It's just a cool thing that you can do that. So yeah, those are my general thoughts on feats. I like them. I like that they're optional. And I like that there's not, like, an encyclopedia of them I have to look through. Because I don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
All right. So now the specifics. I'm going to put you guys on the spot, but I'll go first because I know I'm going to ask the question. From the player's handbook, your favorite feat.
Sharpshooter.
Well, I was going to go first, but go ahead.
No.
Talk to me about sharpshooter.
Too bad. I don't even have to think about it, son. I really did kind of steal the thunder there. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. Tell us about sharpshooter, and then I'll talk about mine. Or Dave will have thought of his and jump in too.
I'm about to say, my brain just kind of... That's a question that I've always known. So, hey, Internet, I like sharpshooter. It's my favorite feat. The reason why it's my favorite feat are for all the wrong reasons, though, which I guess I will explain. So, I like sharpshooter, but I also like it because I think it's wrong. Ooh, can I say that? Is Wizards going to find me?
They don't know we're talking.
Yeah. So...
Yet. Get to it, Internet.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Tell your friends at Wizards.
So,
carry on.
So, I like sharpshooter because I have recently, I used to play nothing but melee classes. I mean, get in there, punch it. Monks are my go-to, also fighters because they were the simplest back in the older editions. Um, but recently, I've gotten more range style classes, and I really like how being at long range with the sharpshooter feat doesn't impose disadvantage anymore. Because just as a little tidbit, on pretty much any range attack, including your weapons with bows and arrows and bolts, you'll have two numbers. There's be a first number and a slash and another number. That second bigger number is the maximum distance. Normally, anything from that distance of that number, you have to roll with disadvantage. With a sharpshooter feat, you don't have to. The main reason, however, from a mechanical standpoint, that I do like sharpshooter is because it ignores the cover, the half cover and three quarters cover. Coming from someone who tries to mess with my players as a DM by putting things like that in their way, I really like that as a player. I can be like, I don't care they're behind a rock. Can I still see their head? I want to shoot their head. Uh, and I just really like that. I don't know how else to explain it, but so now the part that you've all been waiting for, the reason why I like it, even though I think it's wrong. And I've actually had this conversation with Dave before. I'm 99.9% positive I have. The last part of sharpshooter, and I'm gonna read it straight from the book, so there's no confusion, is this: before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you are proficient with, you can choose to take -5 penalty to the attack roll. If the attack hits, you get to add +10 damage to it. I had this conversation with Dave where I think that's completely backwards. Because to be a sharpshooter, and again, this might just be the military guy in me talking, to be a sharpshooter is essentially saying, and you can ask actual sharpshooters for the military, we don't miss. One shot, one kill. That's all you get. So I thought that should actually be the other way. Now, maybe not necessarily the numbers, but you can take a penalty to your damage to essentially make sure you hit the target instead of the other way around. So I'll be honest with you guys. I've taken, back when I actually have gotten to play, I've pretty much always taken sharpshooter and never actually used, or very, very rarely used. I essentially only use that last part if I have advantage and my chances are high. But anyway,
the
I like it
the
because
reason
I
it
think it's
is like
interesting.
that thematically is because you're trying to hit a critical area. You're trying to do like a sneak attack kind of thing.
Right.
And so you're taking the -5 penalty because you're trying to hit the seam in the armor, or you're trying to shoot them in the eye. You're trying to hit a smaller target. So if you're trying to hit that smaller target, you are more likely to hit an obstruction. So if I'm trying to shoot you in the neck, where your helmet meets your armor, I have to take that -5 penalty because it's harder for me to hit that spot. I'm more likely to bounce my projectile off of your helmet or off of your armor. But if I do hit that little spot, it's going to hurt a lot more. And
I
that's
suppose that's fair.
that's my. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree. Like when I first saw sharpshooter, I was like, well, yeah, that should be more like there was one in third edition where you took a bonus to your attack to take a penalty to damage, and you could take a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Like you got to pick the number.
Yeah, I
Like
remember
how
that.
much easier is it for you to hit
Yep.
than it is? I think it was expertise, maybe.
It was something along those lines. But like it's exactly like you said. You chose how much you want to take away from your damage to choose how much more you wanted a chance to hit. So
And then they had power attack that went the other way,
yep,
so you
exactly.
could, yeah. But
But anyway,
that's thematically what sharpshooter's doing. Dave, you want to get in on some of this stealing my thunder and go ahead and tell us your favorite feat?
I'll go ahead and steal some thunder. I like stealing
All right.
thunder. So my favorite feat is actually Sentinel. It's a fantastic
That's a good
feat
one,
for
too.
any tank to take because it helps you lock down enemies. So what it does is it's a three-part feat. First part is whenever you hit somebody with an opportunity attack, their speed drops to 0 for the rest of the turn. So if someone's
that's
trying
pretty
to get
awesome.
away from you or move through you to engage someone behind you, and you manage to hit them on an opportunity attack, they're stuck there. You've stopped them from getting away or from going up again and trying to smack your mage if they're trying to move through you. So you've done your job as a tank.
If I might break in for just a second,
Yes.
that also it says your movement becomes 0 for the remainder of the turn. So if you've got a guy who's like, "Oh crap, he stopped me. Well, I guess I'll use my action to dash now." Okay, well you get to move your movement. Your movement is 0.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's a big deal. Carry on.
The second part is so creatures will provoke opportunity attacks from you even if they disengage. We haven't really gotten into the action economy or how actions work, but one of the actions you can take is disengage, which lets you move out of a threatened square and not provoke an opportunity attack. So if you're, fighting the fighter and you want to get away from him, you can say, I disengage, and then I'm going to back away 30 feet, and he doesn't get opportunity attacks against him. Unless he's got Sentinel, in which case your disengage does not matter. So it makes enemies think twice about trying to move away from you. And even if they do move away from you, you still get to swing at them no matter what.
And if you hit them,
And if you hit them, they drop their speed to 0, and they're not moving at all. They've just wasted their entire turn when they could have maybe taken a swing at you instead.
I also just want to say to do it to binge did and kind of sneak in on this one. DMs, be very careful with giving your NPC Sentinel. The party rogue will hate you. They will hate you because they will not understand why they can't disengage. You're just like, no,
why can't I do this thing I've always done?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last part of it is, anytime a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against someone that isn't you, so if you've got an enemy next to you who takes a swing at, like, the party rogue who's flanking them, you get to use your reaction to make an attack against him. So if the orc behind you is swinging at your rogue buddy who's flanking him, you get to turn around and pop that orc in the head and be like, no, bad orc. That's a bad orc.
You look at me.
You look at me, that's
Come
my
at
buddy.
me, bro. You come at me.
Now, that does use your reaction. You only get one reaction per turn, but we haven't got into it yet, but there's not a whole lot to burn reactions on, so why not? But yeah, I like Sentinel. It really makes a tank, and even if you're not an actual tank, if you're just a frontline fighter, it's still really useful to use if you're going to be on the front line. Binge?
Yeah, man.
Oh, I get to go?
You get to go.
I get to answer,
Wait, do we want to steal
one
Slender
question?
again, Chase?
Yeah,
Here's my other favorite feat.
Yeah, I can another feat real fast. Hold on.
No, my favorite feat, and I'm amazed that that my colleagues here didn't say it, but they made very good choices as well. Mine is resilient because I like my double feats. Some of the feats let you also put a point in your stats. So even though I've given up the ability to put 2 points in my stats, maybe I can take a feat that lets me put 1 point and also give me some other stuff. So we haven't talked about a lot of mechanics of the game yet. We've talked about role-playing aspects, and we've talked about how to build a character, how to decide where he's from, and all that other stuff. One of the game mechanics is your saving throws, and this is your ability to escape harm when some antagonist tries to do something bad to you. And there is a saving throw associated with each stat. So there's a strength saving throw, a dexterity saving throw, a constitution saving throw, an intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throw. Every character class has 2 that they're good with. Now, there are 6. 3 of them are super important. 3 of them don't matter at all.
I wouldn't go that far.
3 of them matter much, much less than the previous 3. The 3 big ones are going to be your wisdom save, your constitution save, and your dexterity save. Your wisdom save is your ability to resist attacks against your mind or your willpower. Your constitution save is your ability to resist attacks against your body, such as poison. And your dexterity save is your ability to get out of the way of trouble. So a lot of area of effect spells require a dexterity saving throw. Intelligence saves are attacks on your brain, not your mind, your brain. Charisma saving throws are typically like force of will, not necessarily charm effects, but effects where I just decide I want this to happen to you, and you succumb to it. And then strength saving throws are your ability to resist being pushed different places. So I like resilient because I get to increase one of my ability scores by 1 point, and then I am proficient in that skill's saving throw. So if I am a rogue who is proficient in dexterity saving throws and intelligence saving throws, I might want to add a point to my constitution so I'm a little hardier in combat, and also when I get hit by that poison trap, I might be able to resist it a little better. Or my fighter or barbarian, who's very strong and also probably has put some points in their dexterity for the sake of their armor class to avoid being hit, so I'm not really worried about dexterity saving throws as much. But I really don't want to be charmed and turned against my friends because I might murder all of them. Because I'm the big, strong murder bot. So I might take a point in my wisdom and gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. So that's one that I like because I think defensively, which is why 5th edition and I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the flattened math and everything. And it's basically every fight is a slugfest now. But I think in terms of I want to be Rocky, right? I want to weather the storm and just outlast you. So resilient really calls out to me because I can cover up one of my deficiencies in a fairly effective way by adding my proficiency bonus to any rolls I make to resist whatever Chase is throwing at me this week. Other honorable mentions, most dual wielding fighters take the dual wielder feat that allows you to use a regular sized weapon in both hands as opposed to one regular sized weapon and a small weapon or a light weapon.
Any of the armors, the light.
Any of the armors, medium armor mastery is very good. Heavy armor mastery is okay. Great weapon master is essentially sharpshooter for guys using a two-handed weapon.
And there isn't a light armor master, which still bugs me somewhat.
Yeah. And we mentioned it before, but honorable mention goes to Lucky, so you can cheat. But beyond that, that's Feats in a nutshell. Closing thoughts.
Lucky's awesome. Take it if you play a halfling. That is all.
Yeah, there's also some feats that let you become like a different character. Like you can take a ritual caster feat as a fighter and be able to cast like a spell.
I've said my piece here.
Okay, and Dave's got nothing. So I guess that'll do it for this Monday. As always, tell your friends, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Dave, where else can they find us?
You can also find us at rolltoroll.wordpress.com and on the SoundClouds and on the Facebooks.
Excellent.
But not on MySpace.
No, nobody's on MySpace. I'm Benj.
I'm Chase.
I'm Dave.
Keep on rolling.